Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you for having me
like
again.
It. First, I would like to congratulate you on the book, hockey book.
Right.
I'm not a hockey fan, but I find it very easy to read.
Oh, great.
And I read some good reviews. So
it has received pretty good reviews. Obviously, I'm very happy to have completed it after a very long time. I said I did 15 minutes a day on it for 9 years. But, you know, I point out to all of your viewers, Rita, that all the proceeds of this book, my proceeds, go to the Military Families Fund. So whether people are hockey fans or not, we encourage them to buy it and to support a great cause.
Any plan to write another book?
Not at the moment. Look, it took me an awful long time, and I enjoyed it. You know, obviously the last year when you're hitting deadlines, it becomes a little more onerous. So I'm just, at this point, just glad that it's over. And to the extent I have spare time, which I don't have a lot of, I've been working a little bit more on my music as my hobby, but I still don't have a lot of spare time on. So I can only do one hobby at a time, basically.
You just came back from South Africa.
I did.
Can you talk about the trip?
Yeah. Look, this was really a moment in world history. I'm always tremendously honored to be traveling and representing the country. Nelson Mandela, besides being a great historic figure, a great statesman, a great moral leader, was an honorary Canadian citizen, our first honorary Canadian citizen. He had a special affinity for this country. As you know, I took a delegation that was unprecedented in Canadian history, 4 former prime ministers, 2 former governors general, and various other luminaries, premiers. And I think we all just thought it was a tremendous, it was something we'll all remember, just a tremendous time to mark the passing of a life, and a life that made a great contribution to humanity.
What do you think your biggest accomplishment last year? I think it must be CETA.
I think you're right. You know, the government's overwhelming focus in terms of what we're working on remains economic issues. And, you know, in the past year, we have passed more legislation, initiated more projects, made more announcements than in any year that we've been in government. It's been a very busy year, mostly economically focused. But no doubt the biggest single thing, probably one of the biggest single things we've done as a government, is conclude the comprehensive free trade agreement with the European Union, done that with the support of all of our provinces. This really takes us into a new league, in effect, in the global trading system. When our government came to office, Canada had trade agreements with only 5 countries, even though we're an open trading economy. Now we have trade agreements with 42 countries, including North America and Europe, the 2 wealthiest markets in the world. And so there's much more to be done, but this just positions Canada tremendously for opportunities in the future. So, look, it's a big achievement, but there's still much more to go. We're involved, as you know, in other negotiations, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership in Asia. So there's still much more to be done on the trade file. We've been playing catch-up since we came to office, but I think we're actually getting caught up now.
Are you going to pay more attention to Asia and China? You haven't been to China for a couple of years. And is there a hope for free trade with China?
I hope I will get to China in the year to come, although we have not set dates yet. But I know there's been discussions between ourselves and the Chinese government. The Governor General was just in China this fall, had a very productive trip. As you know, we have concluded negotiations on a foreign investment protection and promotion agreement with China. That has not yet been implemented, but we are committed to implementing it. And we're committed to deepening our trade and investment flows with China. They continue to rise. I think whether we're ready, I'm not sure we're ready at the moment to really launch into true free trade negotiations, but I think we can continue to push this economic relationship forward in a big way.
I asked this question before, that you seems to fulfill all your campaign promises in your first and second year. Now, any big plans for your remaining mandate?
Well, we've done most, you're correct, we've done something like 90% of the campaign pledges we ran on. But look, there's a great deal to be done. The government has a very heavy legislative agenda, you know, in the area. Let me just give you a few examples off the top of my head of the things we're we're doing in the area of the economy, dealing with skills shortages, reforming immigration. We're launching in the very near future what we call the expression of interest system, which is going to allow employers to much more rapidly identify immigrants who can fill jobs that are in demand immediately. This is a big transformation of the nature of our immigration system and the application process. We're transforming the National Research Council, the government's major research institute, to make it much more involved in commercialization, partnerships with business. On the crime side, we're bringing forward a Victims' Bill of Rights. We've got important legislation on cyberbullying and cyber intimidation, some of the terrible things that are happening to our young people. So look, I could just go down the list. The government has an extremely heavy agenda. The fact of the matter is this, Rita, although the country, and I think Canadians feel the country is doing reasonably well, we're not where we want to be. We still live in challenging economic times. The global economy is still very challenging. The competitive threats to Canada's position in the world, particularly from Asia, are very real. And there's a lot more work to be done to really position this country where it needs to be so that all Canadians can realize their aspirations and get good jobs for themselves and their children.
It seems you said to go to Arctic every year.
Yeah.
Why do you think that's important?
Well, I take an annual summer tour. I spend a week every year in our northern territories, and I do go up periodically at other times. This is, I think the North, I've always said, is something Canadians respond to that I've said. The North, Canada's a northern country, and the North defines our country. It's our final frontier, so to speak. It's a land of a great promise, great potential wealth, populated by sturdy people who have a deep commitment to our country and to showing the flag in that part of the world. And so we go up there to pursue any number of things, economic development opportunities. We're doing things to improve the lives, the social conditions for people up there. We're doing things to try and preserve our environment. Obviously, with environmental changes, there are issues to be addressed on that. And of course, we're asserting Canadian sovereignty, which is, as you probably heard on the news and seen from time to time, is a matter of some concern.
Your government's position on marijuana is very harsh. You're against legalization of it, and you try to stop the injection house.
Right.
But as we know, there are several states in the United States, they have legalized the marijuana.
Right.
How can you enforce a harsh law like that in this country?
Well, I don't know that the law is a harsh law, particularly in cases of small usage, but I think it is important that marijuana remain criminalized. Marijuana is a narcotic that has no beneficial effect. It is a drug that used over time helps ruin people's lives. And I think I don't want to see your children. You don't want to see I don't want to see my children. You don't want to see your children. Your viewers. Hardworking new Canadians who come here. This is not the kind of country we want to have for our kids. We want to see our kids be, have jobs, careers, houses, happy marriages, community involvement. We don't want to see them live beside injection sites and be involved in the drug trade. These things are illegal because they do bad things to people and communities over time, and so we think it's important that that message be sent. And obviously we have a pretty strong disagreement with Mr. Trudeau and our Liberal friends who think this is all somehow cool. There's nothing cool about it. Maybe when you're in high school and someone smokes a joint, they say that's cool, but 30 years later, let me tell you, if you're still doing that, the results don't look very cool. They're not good for you and not good for our country. And so we will maintain our position that illegal narcotics, it's not the vision we have for our families.
Regarding the Senate scandal that we know McDuffie, who excessively claimed the $90,000 house expenses. But I know he was not charged. What he did was within the guideline at that time. And I know you were under great pressure from oppositions and the media. So, looking back, you think you overreact to kick him out and caucus and deprive him of the Senate position?
Well, not at all. First of all, as you know, this matter is under an RCMP investigation, so I wouldn't go so far as to say nobody broke any rules. I think that's far from clear. What is at issue here? As I said to Mr. Duffy way back when this began, you can't claim expenses that you weren't really incurring. Mr. Duffy claimed $90,000 of travel expenses when he was not in fact traveling. And I don't care how you decide you're going to interpret the rules, that's not reasonable. So I told Mr. Duffy he should pay it back. Mr. Duffy claimed publicly that he had done so. That was an untruth. That's why, first of all, the original act, the obvious disregard for taxpayers' money, but the later falsehoods, this is why ultimately the Senate, not myself, the Senate, conservative senators made a decision to suspend him without pay. And I'm telling you, Reed, if you did this in any other occupation, if you did this at Fairchild, I guarantee Fairchild would not have you on the payroll. So I think the senators who have disregarded rules and abused taxpayers' money have been treated very, very appropriately. And look, and I think the good side of this story is that for the first time in history, the Senate has become transparent about its expenses, has made its rules clear, and is now requiring that action be taken when people disregard the rules or basic standards of behavior. And I think this is an important development and one that I strongly support.
There's a remark that says conservatives had no heart and liberals had no brain. So when you make policies, how do you bring compassion to your policies making?
Well, look, I think what needs to be understood about us is I don't actually think you can have compassion without a brain. You know, when we undertake our policies, and I know we can be, you know, it's our nature to be very businesslike, but we undertake policies because we believe we're doing things that will help people's lives, because we believe we'll be getting jobs for our families, we'll be getting future and hope for our children, we'll be creating safe environments that people can thrive and develop their potential in, that we can create a strong country that, you know, will have a real impact for good in the world. These are why we do the things we do. I would agree with you that as conservatives, we sometimes don't express enough about the motives behind what it is we're doing. But I would say, notwithstanding that deficiency, the results speak for themselves. We're living in an era where the world, particularly the developed Western world, has never been under greater stress in my lifetime. You know, we have most countries in the world, advanced countries, massive unemployment, massive debts. People, young people in particular, have absolutely no futures. And what's the notable exception? It is Canada. There's never been a time where Canada has been stronger in the world than it is today. In the developed world, we have one of the strongest economies, and of course, even those in the emerging world, like China and others, who maybe have an economy that's growing quicker, still envy what we have.
There are speculations that you may or you may not lead the party for another election. I don't know, when are you going to make the final decisions? You have anything?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the basis of the speculation. I saw a speculation one day that I wouldn't lead the party in the next election, and a couple of days later, I saw the speculation that I was going to call an election right away and lead the party. The next election is 2015, and I plan to lead the party in 2015.
So you used to say this is the best job in the world. You still think so?
I put it this way. This is the best job in the best country in the world. And yeah, I absolutely still think that. I'm honored to have it. You know, every day it still feels surreal at times. You know, sometimes I'm coming up to the 24 Sussex and thinking the Prime Minister lives there, and then think, oh, that's me. That just seems, at times it does seem surreal. But it's, you know, it's the experience of a lifetime. I'm one of only 22 people in 150 years to have this experience. I have great colleagues, staff, and supporters who do everything to help me to make it successful. And so it's just, it really is just the time of my life.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, and I want to wish you, Rita, and all your staff and your viewers a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.